Hi, everybody. We've got the incredible Matthew with us today. He was one of the students that I met in Thetahealing, and then he trained in the MIT technique as well. He's been an absolute delight to have on. He's been an incredible support to the community. He's been one of the biggest contributors to the course. And everybody has something incredible to say about Matthew. So I can't wait to introduce him to you guys today. I'm going to hand over to him so he can tell a little bit about what he does, his own healing journey. So Matthew, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, hi everybody. I feel a bit blushed now after that introduction. Yeah, so I guess my healing journey actually started with Qigong. So I studied the practice of Qigong and some of the other Shaolin arts like Tai Chi Chuan and Kung Fu. And that really started to kind of awaken me to my healing journey. Then followed that with Reiki and became a Reiki master. Then I found Thetahealing, which is amazing, which is obviously where I met this guy. And then because I'd worked with you, obviously that was the draw. I'd done intuitive anatomy, which was also with you, and I could just see how deep we could go into the whole medical side. And actually, I wanted to do this course a year ago when you first did it, and it just the timing wasn't right for me. And so the timing was right this year, and it's been a fantastic ride, I would say. Yeah, so yeah, I'll leave it there for the moment. Yeah.
So how soon did you start to see the changes happening? Because you said it was around 2, 3, 4 weeks when you started working on it.
Yeah, so because there was a certain amount of introduction to the course before we kind of really got into the technique. So as soon as we started getting into the meat of it, just changes started happening. So practicing the actual technique and the modality was, I mean, there was quite a lot of new stuff that I hadn't done before, which really added a lot of texture to the healing, like the different scans that we do, which was fantastic. So just actually being open to that, you know, I was receiving a lot more information than I would have got before. The healings themselves, it's like one of those situations where you know you've done a really great, or you know, combined, you've co-created a really great healing, because you know you've really got to the trauma and you've been able to release it. And I mean, it's just magical seeing somebody, you know, having to recover from that place and being able to do so at the end and feel completely different. So you know, and in other modalities, you know, perhaps it's been a bit up and down, but the thing I've noticed, it's been really consistent. I can't think of a single healing either in the practice group or the swaps that hasn't been deep. So that's really fantastic. That shows that it worked. And because of that, and because of things like the information I'm getting in the scans, which then, you know, is absolutely resonating with the client, and then, you know, when we actually are healing the trauma, you know, the things that come up are actually being shown, you know, and I'm actually seeing that what I've seen before we get into the healing is actually the case. That's just like boosted my confidence no end. So really, yeah, the confidence and the skill, I guess, has just been developing throughout the course. But yeah, as soon as we got over the kind of the introduction piece and actually got into the meat of it, things really started happening.
I gave you guys a Christmas holiday before I dumped you in there. What were the biggest changes that you noticed in yourself?
I guess one of the really, you know, one of the amazing things that you don't always get on courses is the self-reflection work. So, you know, we do some of the content, and then, you know, how does it apply to us? And so I wanted to do it justice. I wanted to really sort of dive deep and reflect. And so it kind of gave me quite a bit of self-compassion, I would say, you know, a much healthier view of myself. You know, I feel like it was quite a cathartic process as well. Just going through some things that actually I was, you know, very aware of and that I've been working on healing over the years, and some things which were, you know, kind of really just popped into my consciousness that, you know, at perhaps a different level or a different vibration that I hadn't really noticed, that really just gave me an ability to, acknowledge it, accept it, eat or work on it. So overall, I feel like my self-perception is, I'm a good person. I've got a lot more self-compassion, a lot more self-love. I've got a lot more appreciation for my body and what my body does for me. And, I feel like we're in much more of a partnership now, whereas I probably did have what many people would have is, it's like, there's my body and it's not working, or it is working, or it's not doing this, it's not doing that. And I really realized that, even if I had a kind of mental positive impression of myself, I definitely had grumbles and whinges and moans about my body, which, I've realized is not the healthy way to be. So I feel like there's been a lot of joining up and integration, really, so body, mind, spirit are one, which I knew, but nevertheless these homeworks made me realize just how much I perhaps wasn't living what I knew. And I feel that that's now much more equal, that I'm trying to honor my body and be grateful for my body and look after it. And that's also made me, feel more confident and happier and healthier and fitter. So it's been a virtuous circle, really.
I think you had some huge breakthroughs, because I know you had your own big health challenges right before you came on the course.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that you were meticulous with your questions. I could see how deep you were going. So, with the homework, you can play it shallow or you can play it deep. And I think each one of the exercises, they came straight from my journals. They came straight from the questions that I worked through over like the last 20 years. So I know how many pages I wrote on them, but the fact that you went that deep, that's a testament to your dedication, to your growth, to your spirituality. But you said you work particularly on, I remember you really having huge breakthroughs with the virtue of presence, with you being really able to just stay there and allow pain to transform, which I thought was really spectacular.
Yeah, and it was really, I mean, I don't know if presence is a psychic gift, but I mean, it feels like it's on a par.
Oh, yeah, it's Eckhart Tolle's card.
Yeah. So I mean, how should I describe this? I mean, just the mere presence and being really, really present with the client seems to just hold such a safe space for the client that we seem to be able to go that much deeper than perhaps we would have if the presence wasn't really there. And so for me personally, I mean, I practice meditation, I practice Qigong, and I have a certain presence anyway, but with that like redoubled focus on the presence in the groups, literally it almost felt like this, the scenario that we go through, the way that we use the modality, almost is just scaffolding to actually be able to achieve the end result. And actually that level of presence with the client, things just shift and change. And also in that level of presence, information is coming in as well, much more clearly. There were times when, actually I was being very, very present, and my monkey mind was sometimes coming in saying, oh, okay, should we move on now? And I just got this sense, no, we need to stay here. And so we did. And, then perhaps there'd been a whole nother wave of release with the client, which was really, really super powerful. So that was a massive, massive lesson about being present, and an amazing takeaway and great for life as well. It doesn't have to be in a session, just being present with someone you're talking to or the thing that you're doing. It's fantastic. So that was amazing.
If we're going to be spiritually correct, presence is a virtue.
Okay.
But I honestly think that a virtue is a spiritual gift that's been activated, like it's been like you said, manifested. It's actually the use of something as opposed to just it being in the ethers, as Vanya would say, the embodiment, right?
Right. Okay.
But it is like truth. It's so powerful that I think just its presence can transform tremendous amounts of suffering and pain.
Yeah.
So it's very, very powerful, and it's a very, very big virtue. What would you say was your biggest breakthrough?
It's difficult to say just one, really. I mean, the presence was definitely a breakthrough. I feel like the course opened up a whole bunch of new perspectives, you know, new and expanded perspectives. But it also, as well as kind of broadening, it also took me deeper. So within each of the modules, there was items that, you know, just took me deep. And then with your Q&A, where you're very generous with all the Q&As, answering my questions, that really helped to sort of, you know, embed the knowledge. So I think, you know, I could have got a certain way just simply through the manuals and the videos and things, but actually being able to kind of ask questions and then also apply it in sessions was a really good one. I mean, so another area I feel is kind of really opening up is about working with people with dissociation. And you know, I've definitely in the past, because of my own childhood, was quite dissociated from my emotions, and Thetahealing over the past years has really helped me to kind of get more in touch with them. And I'm probably more in touch with them, you know, based on feedback from others than perhaps I think I am sometimes. But I would say, yeah, actually my ability to perhaps work with someone who's dissociated and help them to you know, reconnect enough to be able to actually deal with what they need to deal with and release it and move on has definitely been a big breakthrough. And obviously, I guess like attracts like, so, you know, clients might come to me that are perhaps a bit like me or were like me. And so that's been really good. And it's obviously very challenging to work with people who can't feel their emotions. What else?
You have to rely more heavily on your psychic gifts and on muscle testing but it is invaluable because, you know, our intuition, our capacity to sense, our capacity to feel is greatly increased, and also like it speeds up the healing so much when these emotions are released, and it helps people really remember who they are, you know, in a way that's very, very deep. It actually came up in the healing this morning, the hot seat this morning around dissociation. It's a very powerful, it's a very powerful thing, you know, and it is necessary when we go through our traumas. It is necessary to be able to survive, you know.
Yeah. I mean, one other area as well, which I think is really helpful, is that you know, in the past, maybe I would have had an intuition that a client is leading me down the garden path because they're, you know, in comes some avoidant behavior or self-sabotage or resistance of some kind. And so actually, you know, another big breakthrough is actually being, you know, not only having like the solid confidence that I absolutely know this is happening, but actually being able to call them on it, and, you know, and actually for their benefit, because, you know, they want to be healed, so they want to resolve whatever issue it is. So you know, combined with the presence and also being able to have that difficult conversation, yeah, and also even being able to have you know, have the very difficult conversation, you know, is this the right time, you know, and just even stopping the session if it's irrecoverable. Yeah, so you know, I feel like that's a massive breakthrough, to have the confidence to be able to do that in a, you know, in a loving way, in order to support the client in the best possible manner.
It's absolutely huge to be able to challenge a client appropriately, to be able to respect their boundaries and their capacity, even sometimes where they can't, you know, because there's nothing loving about, it's almost violent to force a healing before a person is ready, you know. And I think particularly with spiritual healing, it can become very superficial or people pleasy if we can't challenge the red herrings, and which is like when people lead you down the garden path, or if you know, someone's being very hard on themselves and they're just beating themselves with a stick of this should be healed, you know. But it's just divine timing, you know. You can't force a flower to blossom before it's ready, and it is what it is.
Yeah. And I have to say, I haven't, although I'm absolutely ready to have that conversation of you're not ready, actually all of the other ways to broach this subject have really helped. So I've definitely experienced clients with resistance, and we've been able to you know, gradually explore our way through and get to where we need to go, because they were ready and they were open.
It's rare. Most people do want to heal and they just don't know how. Where I find I use the you're not ready actually nowadays is so much more to do with normally medical treatments they're receiving at the same time, because their body's already tired or they're already worn out from something else, like a big surgery, and it's like, we need to take it a bit slower, you know, until you're a bit stronger. But the rest of the time, you know, most people are pretty comfortable as long as, like I said, you've got the presence to take them into the deep emotions and they know you're going to catch them. Most people are very willing to go there. But I think healers in particular, the number of them that are like, oh, I came out of surgery yesterday, let's do the healing today. And it's like, yeah, let's move that. Let's give you some time. You know, let's give your body a bit of a chance to catch up with your mind. But yeah, it is what it is. You have a gift with children that's come out a few times, both with me sending people to work with you, but also with me just seeing you work your miracles around genetics and things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? You've become my kid whisperer. Who's the kid person in the group? And I was like, yeah, that's Matthew. And everyone was like, oh.
Yeah, including Matthew. Yes. So, you know, I've worked with a few children actually, because they were young. You know, I've worked actually through their parents, and you know what I mean, without obviously going into detail, there've been some genetic, I guess, adaptations or mutations. I guess science might call it a mutation, but in a way, it's just not sort of correctly in place. And yeah, they've been you know, very powerful. And when I've scanned the children and fed back what I'm seeing to the parent, you know, it's very interesting how, you know, these things are coming down the ancestral line, you know, both I guess genetically, but also potentially environmentally. So just the environment of the ancestors, and epigenetics shows that genes are turned on and off through the environment, and gene expression is, you know, it can change. So I mean, it's actually wonderful to be able to work at this level and effectively heal what needs to be healed. That was the, you know, the cause of the genetic mutation or inaccuracy or whatever it might be, and then being able to actually change that. You know, it's amazing. And actually, when I've talked to people, like not you know, non-spiritual people, or, you know, people who aren't in any kind of healing vision, they're just completely like flummoxed. It's like, what? How do you do that? So I'm having to be a bit careful about what I say to who, but you know, it's quite amazing. And yeah, I guess I'm a big kid myself, so perhaps I relate to the children. Yeah,
I think there's a very there's a deep peace about you and a calmness that I think makes it easy for, especially in very tough situations, and that makes you a very safe healer, particularly for children. I think you have compassion for the parents, and so many healers don't. You know, so I think that really helps as well, because it's very hard to get a parent to agree for you to heal them if they don't trust you.
Yeah. I think going back to, you know, have I been changing? I mean, I mentioned self-compassion, but I do feel like this course has helped me broaden my compassion overall, because and with that, you know, judgment's been falling away. You know, I really don't feel very judgy at all these days. You know, I can, whatever is happening or whoever's doing whatever, you know, I can always see it from different perspectives. So that just brings compassion anyway.
It's interesting. I think detachment and compassion, I found the hardest. Detachment, because in the beginning I really had it enmeshed with neglect. You know, that self-neglect, when it was so enmeshed with detachment that it felt like whenever I was detached, I was neglecting, you know, and I was so terrified of becoming the abuser that it took me ages to really separate those two. And then the other one was compassion, because I couldn't tell the difference between compassion, empathy. I kept getting sucked in and feeling everybody's emotions.
Right.
The big, so it took me ages to really get that compassion. It's like I said, you really understand just how much respect and love and somebody is worthy of, you know, as opposed to them having to earn it or prove it, or it's a big leap in consciousness, but I had to work really hard to earn those two. So he makes it look effortless, but I'm telling you, it took work. It's probably lifetimes worth to get there. What would you advise anyone considering joining the mastermind? Because you've got two unique perspectives. One is that you were there's only two men on this round. And the other is that you are already a healer. You're already, you know, established. So what advice would you give?
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, if it's attracting you and you're curious about it and you're feeling that it's calling, I would say that you know, follow that gut instinct really is the first thing. And conversely, I would say if you like attending courses and you just want to sort of do a checkbox exercise, you know, I've done this course, but you know, playing shallow as you said, rather than going deep, I would say.
And this is not for you.
Not the course.
No, run away.
Yeah, I mean, because you'd waste your time. You know, you wouldn't get the best out of it. I mean, there's so much value in this program. And I would also say, so if you are curious and you're prepared to commit, you know, and go 100%, go all in, then, you know, even if you're not planning to be a healer at the end of it, there's so much self-development that can occur as well. So it would be like probably doing several years of high-level therapy just in the 6 months. You know, and that's, you know, at least theta healing level and above, where things can really change quickly, and they can really change with medical intuitive technique. And then I guess my other advice would just be a bit more on the logistical side. So if you're a little bit, if you're not too great with dates and things, I would say get organized. So put things in your calendar. You know, look at the modules as they're released to sort of get an idea of how much work's involved, and program it. You know, these are just practical aspects. And then, I mean, Sky, you're so amazing at answering questions, and you are just like an encyclopedia of knowledge. You know, ask questions, and then Sky will answer the questions, and that's just been absolutely invaluable. Yeah, if it's calling you and you're prepared to go all in, then seize the opportunity. It's a fantastic opportunity. The community is brilliant, the learning is brilliant. You know, you get so much growth, so much healing. Your confidence will improve. You know, you'll evolve as an awakened soul. It's, you know, brilliant. You know, the value of the course is way more than the cost of the course, I would have to say.
Thank you so much, Matthew. You've been incredible. You've been incredible at helping with the community. Your growth has been an absolute pleasure to watch, and I can't wait to see what you do. I really can't wait to see what you do. So if you're interested in feeling called to work with Matthew, I've put all of his website information, everything underneath. Feel free to drop him a DM or an email. We will keep you updated into what he's doing. He's just at the beginning of what he's going to do, which is part of what excites me so much. And he's a very, very special soul. And I hope you, I hope you get to experience the incredible breakthroughs I've experienced watching him grow.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop us here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.